I was the last one to show up to the grief group that night. It was raining, of course, because in Seattle, that's just how Tuesdays go in March. I walked in late, jacket soaked through, trying to keep my boots from squeaking too loud on the linoleum. The circle was already formed. 12 chairs, 11 people, one empty seat. I took it, head low, trying not to make eye contact. The woman next to me gave a soft smile, the kind you give to someone who's clearly on the edge of falling apart, but trying to pass for functional. I appreciated that. The group leader was talking, something about showing up being the first step. I'd heard it before, it was my third time attending, but it still felt like I didn't belong. Everyone else was here for the kind of loss people understand. Partners who died in accidents, parents gone from cancer, siblings, kids even. Me? I was just divorced. That didn't sound like grief, it sounded like failure. But it hurt anyway. Across this circle, he sat with his arms crossed, fingers tucked under his sleeves like he didn't know what to do with them. He was tall, a little unshaven, probably mid-30s like me. He had that kind of tired face that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from carrying too much for too long. He didn't talk, not that first night, just listened. Neither did I. Afterward, everyone lingered by the coffee table, like they were waiting for a reason to leave. I poured myself decaf just to avoid going home to an empty apartment. That's when he walked up beside me. "I'm Theo," he said, voice low. "Liam," I replied, trying to smile. He nodded once, then added, "This sucks." I almost laughed. "Yeah, it really does." That was it. Just that. But it stuck. The next week, he came in 5 minutes early and sat beside me. This time, when the group leader asked if anyone wanted to share, Theo spoke. "My husband, Aaron, passed away 6 months ago. Heart attack. He was 39. His voice didn't shake, but his hands did. Just a little. I didn't know what to say to something like that, so I didn't say anything. I just stayed after again, by the decaf, hoping maybe he would too. He did. 'You talked last week,' he said, more a statement than a question. 'Yeah,' I replied. 'Divorced. 8 years. No kids. She wanted someone who wasn't me.' Theo nodded slowly, like he understood more than I'd said. We didn't trade numbers, didn't hug, didn't promise to see each other again. But we both showed up the next week. And the next. And eventually, we stopped pretending we weren't looking for each other in that circle. I didn't expect to start looking forward to Tuesday nights. But there I was, refreshing the weather app to see if I'd need to bring my umbrella again, wondering if Theo would wear the same black sweater, the one with the thread coming loose near the left cuff. He always sat next to me now, never asked, never even looked for permission. Just walked in, nodded once, and took the seat on my right like it had always been his. Grief group had a rhythm to it. Check-ins, breathing exercises, someone always crying softly into a tissue. Some people came once and never returned. Some, like us, became regulars. We still didn't talk much during the group itself, but after, we always lingered. One night, we walked out at the same time, both of us fidgeting with our car keys like we were killing time on purpose. "You hungry?" he asked. It caught me off guard. I blinked at him. "Like, now?" He shrugged. "I don't know. I just don't feel like going home." That made 2 of us. We ended up at this all-night diner on 8th and Union, one of those places with peeling vinyl booths and waitresses who call you hon before you even sit down. The coffee was burnt. The fries were decent. And the quiet between us felt surprisingly okay. He ordered eggs and toast. I got pancakes because I was craving something warm and sweet. It was after midnight, and the place was mostly empty except for a couple of students studying in the corner and a guy asleep in his booth with his hands still wrapped around his coffee mug. "You married long?" Theo asked eventually, tearing his toast into little pieces without eating it. "Almost 8 years, together for 10. He nodded, like he was doing math in his head. "How long since the divorce?" Finalized 2 months ago. She moved out last fall. He looked at me for a beat, then asked, "You miss her?" I considered the question, not just the answer I usually gave. Not really, but the actual truth. I miss what I thought it was going to be. The version of her I made up in my head. But the real her? No, I don't miss walking on eggshells every day. I don't miss the way she looked through me by the end, like I was just part of the furniture. Theo didn't say anything, just nodded again. "And you?" I asked. "How long were you guys together?" 11 years. Married 6. His voice stayed steady, but there was something brittle underneath it. I didn't press. I didn't have to. There's something about talking in the middle of the night, under flickering diner lights, that makes people more honest than they mean to be. "He wasn't supposed to die," Theo said after a long silence. "We went for a hike. It was supposed to be easy. We were going to get burgers after. He laughed at me that morning because I couldn't find my boots. It was stupid. It was a perfect day." I listened. That's all I did. Just let him talk. We were maybe a mile in when it happened. He grabbed my arm and went down. Just like that. Like a light switch. Theo's hands were on the table now, palms flat like he was bracing for something. I did CPR, screamed for help. Someone called 911, but by the time they got there, his words trailed off. I didn't touch him. Didn't offer one of those awful canned lines like, "I'm sorry," or "he's in a better place." I just stayed quiet. Let him have the space to fall apart if he needed to. He didn't. At least not then. Instead, he exhaled hard, rubbed his hands over his face, and muttered, "God, I haven't said all that out loud in months." "Thank you," I said, which felt like the only thing that mattered. He looked at me, not just glanced, really looked. His eyes were tired, but still warm somehow. "You're easy to talk to. You too." That made him smile. Small and sad, but real. We split the check, walked out into the cold, both of us standing awkwardly by our cars. I wasn't sure what to say next, and I think he wasn't either. Eventually he said, "See you next Tuesday?" I nodded. "Yeah, definitely." After that diner night, everything between Theo and me shifted. Not in a dramatic movie montage kind of way. It was more subtle. Like, now we saw each other more clearly. He started texting me. Not every day, and never anything heavy. Usually just simple stuff. "Rain's brutal today." The new guy in group talks like a therapist. "Hope you slept okay." I found myself waiting for his messages, smiling when they came. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. It was soothing. The way his name lit up my phone made me feel less alone. One Friday, I had a bad day. Work stress, a family call that went sideways. The weight of being divorced and 34 and alone hit me hard. I didn't want to go home, didn't want to drink, didn't want to talk to anyone, but I texted Theo anyway. Me, rough day. "Theo, you want company?" I stared at the screen. He'd never asked that before. Me? Yeah. 10 minutes later, he was parked outside my apartment. No questions. No pressure. He was just there, sitting in his Civic, hood up, music low. I got in the passenger seat, and we drove. Nowhere in particular. We ended up at Gasworks Park. The city skyline stretched out across the water, clouds smeared in streaks of orange and purple. We sat on a bench, wind sharp against our jackets. "I hate Fridays," I said. Theo looked over. "Why? Used to be date night, or movie night, or something night. Now it's just me reheating leftovers and pretending I don't mind." He was quiet for a second. "I still sleep on one side of the bed," he said, then laughed softly like it caught him off guard. "Not on purpose, it's just habit." That hit me in the chest. Hard. "It's weird what we hang on to," I said. I still fold her laundry the same way, even though it's just mine now. Shirts in thirds, socks, tucked in pairs. It's like my hands remember even if I don't want them to. Theo nodded. Yeah, that sounds about right. We didn't say anything after that for a long time. Just sat there, letting the quiet be enough. Eventually, I asked, "Do you talk about him much? Outside of group?" He shook his head. "Not really. Most people get uncomfortable. They give you that look, like you just dumped a bucket of grief in their lap. Or worse, they try to fix it. Like grief's a math problem." "Exactly." I leaned back, hands stuffed in my pockets. I don't know how to explain what it's like losing someone who's still alive. The marriage died, but she's still out there, dating someone new, buying furniture for some other apartment. And here I am, still trying to figure out who the hell I am without her. Theo glanced at me. "You ever think maybe it's okay not to know yet?" "Sometimes," I said. "Most days I just feel like I'm late to my own life." He let that hang for a minute, then said, "I feel like I'm haunting mine." Something about that broke me open a little. Not in a dramatic, sobbing way, just a quiet, internal shift. Like I wasn't alone in it anymore. Like maybe our griefs weren't so different, even if the people we lost were. That night, he didn't drop me off right away. We sat in his car outside my building for almost an hour, talking about nothing. TV shows, food, how Seattle drivers forget how to use turn signals when it rains. When I finally opened the door to get out, he touched my wrist lightly. "Hey," he said. I turned back. "I'm glad I met you." My throat tightened. I didn't expect that. Didn't know how to respond. So I just nodded. "Me too." The first time Theo invited me over, he said it like a joke. "You ever eat real food or just microwave trauma meals like the rest of us?" I laughed. "What qualifies as real food? Pasta that didn't come from a plastic tray. Maybe even some vegetables." I looked at him. "You're cooking?" "Yeah," he said, then added with a smirk, "unless you're scared." So that Friday, instead of drowning in leftover pizza and late-night reruns, I was standing awkwardly in his kitchen while he chopped garlic, like a guy who actually knew what he was doing. His place was quiet, clean, but lived in. A few framed photos on the wall, all of nature or old buildings. No people. Except one. On the bookshelf, half hidden behind a plant, was a small picture frame. I couldn't see it from where I was standing, but I didn't ask. I knew who it was. Theo caught me glancing. He didn't say anything at first, just stirred the sauce and then said, without turning around, "That's him, Caleb." I nodded, not sure what to say. "You can look at it if you want," he added. He wouldn't mind. I hesitated, then stepped closer. The photo showed the two of them at the beach. Caleb was tall, tan, with messy blonde hair and a smile that lit up the whole frame. Theo looked younger, less guarded. His arm was around Caleb's waist, their faces pressed together, laughing at something outside the shot. "You guys looked happy," I said. "We were," Theo replied quietly. "Most of the time." He set a timer, wiped his hands on a towel, and leaned against the counter. He was loud, like, always singing, always talking. Drove me crazy sometimes. "You miss that?" He looked down. "Every day." I didn't try to offer comfort, I just let it be. Dinner was surprisingly good. Spaghetti with homemade sauce, garlic bread that didn't come from a freezer bag, even a sad little salad that he apologized for twice. We ate on the couch, watching a cooking show neither of us were really paying attention to. At one point, our legs touched. Just lightly. Neither of us moved. "You ever wonder what it's supposed to look like?" I asked after a long silence. "What?" Moving on. Theo exhaled slowly, like he'd been waiting for someone to ask. "Yeah, all the time. Everyone says it's okay to grieve. But eventually they start hinting that it's time. Time to move forward, time to get back out there, like it's a race." "I hate that phrase," I said. "Get back out there, like there's a goddamn prize waiting." He smiled. "Exactly. I looked over at him. Do you want to? What? Get back out there? I nodded. He didn't answer right away, just picked at the crust of his bread. I don't know. I thought I did. I signed up for some app a few weeks ago, deleted it the next day. It felt wrong. Because of him? Because of me. He turned to look at me, eyes steady. But with you, it doesn't feel wrong. My heart thudded in my chest. I held his gaze, searching for a joke, a smirk, some sign he didn't mean it the way it sounded. But he did. The first time I saw you at group, he continued, you looked like you didn't want to be there, like me. But then you stayed, and I kept hoping you'd talk, hoping you'd come back. I swallowed hard. I kept coming back because of you. He let out a breath, something almost like relief. We didn't kiss. Not that night. It wasn't that kind of moment. It was quieter than that. Slower. But when I left, he walked me to the door and stood there a little longer than necessary. Like he was still figuring it out, like we both were. And when I turned back to say goodbye, he reached out and gently touched my sleeve. Not my hand, not my face, just the fabric at my wrist. It was small, but it said everything. After that night, something in our routine softened. We still met on Tuesdays at group, still exchanged texts during the week. But now there was a quiet thread running through it all, something unspoken but deeply felt. One Saturday, Theo texted me out of the blue. Theo, want to help me pick out plants? I stared at the message, confused for a second. Me, like, for a garden? Theo, houseplants. For the apartment, trying to make the place feel less like a waiting room. That made me laugh. 15 minutes later, we were in his car again, windows down, a playlist humming low in the background. Theo didn't talk much at first, just tapped the steering wheel lightly with his thumb while we drove toward some tucked-away plant shop he said Caleb used to love. We walked through rows of succulents, ferns, little leafy things with impossible names, and Theo kept picking up pots, putting them back, circling around like he was looking for something specific. You know what you're doing? I asked, watching him frown at a pothos like it owed him money. No idea, he said, but I figure if I can keep something alive, that's a win. I found a small peace lily and handed it to him. Start with this one. They're dramatic, but forgiving, Theo grinned. Like someone I know. Are you calling me a peace lily? He looked at the plant, then at me. Maybe. We bought 3. Theo carried them out like they were newborns, cradled gently in his arms. On the drive back, he said, Caleb had a whole balcony full of these. Used to name them. Seriously? Yeah, one was named Beatrice, another was Mr. Nibbles. I snorted. That's weirdly adorable. I thought it was dumb at first, he said, smile fading just a little. Now I missed the way he'd talk to them, like they understood. The way he said it didn't make me sad. It just made me want to know more about who Caleb was, what their life looked like before it shattered. Back at his place, we arranged the plants near the windowsill. Theo stood back, hands on his hips, surveying them like they were fine art. It's a start, he said. It's good, I told him. It feels warmer. We didn't do anything big that day. No heavy conversations, no declarations, just lunch, bad coffee, and arguing over which plant looked more judgmental. But I left feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Things continued like that for a while. Gentle, steady, no pressure. We never labeled anything, never even called what we were doing dating. But we were clearly building something. Or maybe something was building itself between us. It wasn't always smooth. One night, I made a joke about relationships, something dumb about how people always choose the wrong ones, and Theo went quiet, really quiet. Sorry, I said, backtracking fast. No, it's okay, he cut in. It's hard sometimes, feeling like I'm betraying him. I nodded. I get it, and I did in my own way. Letting go of a marriage, even a broken one, came with guilt. But Theo's grief had layers mine didn't. His wasn't about leaving. His was about learning how to live in a world that had taken something from him without warning. I don't want to forget him, Theo said. You won't. He looked at me, eyes tight. But what if I start feeling happy again? Doesn't that mean I've moved on? I didn't know the perfect thing to say, but I offered the only truth I had. Maybe moving on isn't about leaving him behind. Maybe it's about making room for someone else beside the place he still holds. Theo didn't respond, but that night, when we sat on his couch watching a dumb show neither of us cared about, he leaned his head on my shoulder, slowly, carefully, like he was testing the weight of it, and I let him stay there. It wasn't until spring that things between us became something we couldn't ignore anymore. We were sitting on Theo's balcony one Sunday afternoon, a quiet ritual we'd started a few weeks back. He'd make coffee, I'd bring over whatever pastries I grabbed from the bakery near my place. We'd talk, or we wouldn't. It didn't matter. That day, the sun was out for once. The plants we'd picked out were all still alive, miraculously. And Theo had hung a little string of lights across the railing that clicked on automatically at dusk. I didn't say anything about how domestic it was starting to feel, but I noticed. Liam, he said after a long sip of his coffee, can I ask you something? Sure. He paused, eyes on the street below. Are you still in love with her? It wasn't an accusation, just a question. One that caught me completely off guard. No, I said after a beat. Not anymore. Theo didn't say anything. I added, sometimes I miss what we had, or what I thought we had. But not her. Not the person she became. Or maybe the person she always was. He nodded slowly. That makes sense. I set my coffee down. Why'd you ask? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, because I think about Caleb a lot when I'm with you. There was no anger in his voice. No guilt, even. Just honesty. I stayed quiet. But it's not a comparison, he went on. It's not like I'm measuring you against him. It's just, he's in my memories, in the way I live, the way I cook, the music I listen to, the way I put my keys down when I get home. I get that, I said. That's love. It stays with you. Theo looked at me, really looked. But I also think about you when I'm alone now, he said. I think about texting you when something dumb happens. I look forward to Tuesdays because of you. I keep wondering what it would feel like to wake up next to you and not feel guilty about it. My chest tightened. Not in a bad way. In a way that felt like everything I'd been waiting to feel since the divorce. I stood, unsure of what I was even doing, and took the chair beside him instead of across from him. Our knees brushed. I think about you too, I said quietly. More than I want to admit. He reached over, hand resting on my thigh. Just enough pressure to feel real. I'm scared, he said. Me too. We didn't kiss, not yet, but our foreheads touched, and I felt his breath catch for just a second. That night, I didn't go home. I didn't sleep with him either. We just lay in his bed, fully clothed, facing each other in the dark. The kind of quiet where you can hear the creak of the building settling, the distant sound of traffic below. He told me stories about Caleb, not sad ones, funny ones. The time he tried to make bread and forgot the yeast. The way he used to sing to their dog in a fake opera voice. I told him about the road trip my ex, and I took that should have been romantic, but ended in a fight over what podcast to listen to. We laughed. Whispered. Fell asleep at some point without even realizing it. When I woke up, he was still facing me, breathing soft and slow. His arm had somehow found its way across my waist during the night, his hand resting lightly on my back. And for the first time in a long, long while, I felt okay. Not fixed. Not finished. But, okay, we didn't talk about what that night meant for a few days. That's how we worked. Careful, quiet, letting the weight of new things settle before trying to name them. But something had changed. It was in the way he texted me good morning now, instead of waiting until midday. It was in the way I kept an extra toothbrush in my backpack, in how he started making coffee for two without asking. It didn't need a name, at least not yet. One evening, we were cooking dinner at his place. Well, he was cooking, I was drinking wine and pretending to help, when his phone buzzed on the counter. He glanced at it and went still. "You okay?" I asked. He hesitated, then picked up the phone. "It's Caleb's sister." I didn't say anything, just waited. "She's in town," he said. "Wants to meet for lunch. She hasn't seen me since the funeral." His voice was flat, but his fingers were fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. "Do you want to see her?" I asked. "I think so, but I don't know what I'll say." "You don't have to say anything," I said. "Just be there." Theo nodded slowly, eyes distant. She loved him, a lot. They were close. I didn't ask if he was going to tell her about me. I didn't need to know right then. What we had didn't depend on public declarations. Not yet. It was still building, still finding its shape. He looked at me like he wanted to say something else, but the oven beeped and the moment passed. He went to lunch the next day. I didn't text him, didn't want to intrude, I just waited. When he finally messaged, all he said was, "Theo, she asked if I was okay. I said I was getting there." That was enough. Weeks passed. Spring started to turn toward summer. Our routines bled into each other. Dinners, movie nights, grocery runs where we argued about brands of hummus. Nothing official, nothing dramatic, but something real. Then, one night, I came over to find him packing a box in the living room. Not a big one, just a small cardboard box with tape and Sharpie markings. "What's that?" I asked. He sat on the floor, legs crossed, surrounded by photos, trinkets, old books. "I'm cleaning out the closet," he said. "Just stuff I haven't touched since Caleb died. Figured it was time." I sat beside him, watched as he sorted through things gently, like each one had its own memory stitched into it. A shirt, a handwritten note, a cracked keychain. He held up a small ceramic mug, bright blue, with a cartoon heart on it. "He made me drink green juice out of this every morning," Theo said with a laugh. "Said it would cleanse my aura. Tasted like lawn clippings." He handed it to me. I turned it in my hands. It was chipped at the rim. "You keeping it?" Theo looked at it for a long moment, then shook his head. "I don't need the mug to remember him." He set it in the donation pile. I didn't say anything, just sat with him while he kept going. And at some point, he reached for my hand, laced our fingers together. "I'm scared," he said quietly. "To feel happy," I squeezed his hand. "Me too. But I think I'm starting to." I looked at him. "With me?" He nodded, eyes locked on mine. "With you." Later that night, we kissed for the first time. It wasn't urgent. Wasn't messy or rushed. It was slow, warm. The kind of kiss that says, "I see you. I know what this means." He touched my face like he was memorizing it. I held his waist like I was trying to keep both of us grounded. We didn't sleep together that night. We just lay in bed, arms tangled, hearts trying to keep pace with something new, something both terrifying and quietly beautiful. And for the first time since meeting him, I realized something simple and profound. He wasn't filling a void, and neither was I. We were building something, slowly, gently, from the rubble of our own losses. Together. We didn't define it right away, didn't slap a label on whatever this thing between us had become. Maybe that's why it worked. Theo and I were both learning how to love again. Him after death, me after something quieter but no less painful. The absence of pressure let it breathe, but still, there was a shift, a sense of forward motion. He started leaving a drawer open for me. I stocked his fridge with my favorite creamer. I gave him a spare key, though he hadn't asked. And the first time he used it, I pretended I wasn't waiting by the door like a teenager. One evening, we were cooking. Well, again, he was cooking. I was doing that thing where I handed him spices like an overly helpful kitchen assistant, and he stopped mid-stir. "Hey," he said, "can I ask you something stupid?" "Always." He hesitated, then looked over his shoulder. "Do you think we're allowed to be happy?" I paused, then leaned against the counter beside him. "I don't think happiness works like a permission slip." Theo turned toward me, expression serious. "Yeah, but I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop." "I know," I said. "Me too. Every time I feel okay, I second guess it, like I haven't earned it yet." We stood there for a moment, steam rising from the pan, something soft playing from the speaker in the corner. "I used to think moving on would mean I'd stopped loving him," Theo said. "But now I think I'll always love him. He's just not the only story I want to tell anymore." That hit me hard. I felt it down in my chest. "You're part of my story now," he added. "I don't want to hide that anymore." "Are you saying I can finally post a picture of us and ruin your mysterious image?" I teased, nudging him gently. He smiled. "Only if it's a flattering one." The first time I met Caleb's sister, Theo introduced me as someone important. He didn't stumble over the words, didn't try to soften it. "This is Liam," he said. "He's someone I care about." She smiled, warm and kind, eyes soft. "I've heard about you." We had lunch at a place Caleb used to love. She told stories. I listened. Theo laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in weeks. And when we walked out into the sunlight afterward, he took my hand without hesitation. Something inside me settled. 1 year after Caleb's passing, Theo and I visited the trail where he died. It was his idea. A way to honor, not to reopen wounds. We didn't hike far. Just to a spot with a view of the water, pine trees framing the sky. Theo placed a small photo of Caleb at the base of a tree, said a few words, barely above a whisper. Then he turned to me. "Thank you for being here. You don't need to thank me." "I do," he said, "because a year ago, I didn't think I'd ever feel anything but empty. And now—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I reached for his hand. He held on tight. Later that night, curled up in bed, he rested his head on my chest and said, "I used to think grief was a wall, something you crash into and never get past. And now I think it's something you carry. Some days it's heavy, some days it's just there. But having you," he paused, "you make it lighter." I didn't know what to say, so I just kissed his hair. That was enough. We didn't find each other by accident. Maybe we weren't looking, but we were both standing in the same place, arms tired from holding the past, hearts aching for something different. Not perfect, not easy, but real. We didn't fix each other. We just held the pieces. And slowly, gently, we started building something new. Together.